Hello, welcome back to the Mr. Arsenal podcast. Obviously, first time for a while. Ain't doing a watch long. We're going to obviously Christmas Eve, Boxing Day is the next game, so this is the best possible time to do a preview for the game on Boxing Day. It's going to be interesting considering the form we're in. But Arsenal v Chelsea, as you can see, I'm joined by Richard from Over and Over again. How you doing, Richard?
Very well, thank you. Nice hat, Ryan. I like that. It's very festive. Very good. I took my Christmas tree down. I had a Christmas tree up the other day for the Man City game, and after we lost, I threw it out the window.
Got rid of it.
So there's no Christmas tree anymore. So we'll have to wait till next year for that.
Yeah, I also got another Christmas. I got one from when I was like bloody hell, when I was a kid, basically. Obviously couldn't find it, but literally it's the wear and tear, you could tell. And it's basically obviously saying Santa is a goon.
He's not this year. He's changed allegiance.
Yeah, got to Liverpool this year. Bloody hell. Melvin's joining us as well. How you doing, Melvin?
Yeah, good evening. Thank you. I'm quite relaxed. There's not a game tonight, so I'm fine. Thanks.
Yeah, they're giving us 48 hours respite. And you've got Vine as well. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm all right. How you guys doing? I'm just numb, as always. Just numb as always. That's all I can say.
I think that pretty much sums up my feeling for the last fucking month. Oh dear. But yeah, so Saturday 5:30 kickoff against that lot, and to say we're not favourites is an understatement. I mean, Melvin and Richard, have you ever seen us in this bad of form at any time during the season that we could potentially be? Well, we are technically in a relegation battle as it is, but could be really sucked into a proper relegation battle coming in the new year.
I mean, I haven't. I know Melvin probably would have done mid-70s, I would imagine. It's probably the last time. I mean, this is the worst that I can remember, the worst run of form that we've had in the league, certainly probably my whole time supporting Arsenal since the sort of late 1970s. So it's new territory for me. I think Melvin's probably been there before a long time ago, though.
Yeah, it was. I saw mid-60s, early mid-60s, that 62-3 season was the first season I went, and we were struggling a couple of times there. We were really, really struggling. We had a terrific team on paper. Looking back, we had some the forward line was amazing, what we had, but the defence was not really good. That was a struggle. But don't you think, gentlemen, that in 80, when a few days before Graham went, we bought 3 players, Hearts and Kiwami, and the winger Helder. We bought those 3, and I think we were very close then, weren't we? There was a couple of games we had to win. I don't know if it was away at Palace, was it, or something? Norwich or something?
I remember the game. I think we played Norwich at home and we won 5-1. And if we'd lost that game, I think Norwich got relegated that season. But I think if they had beaten us, then that could have sucked us into it. But there never.
That was quite near the end, wasn't it, Richard? That was near the end of the season. It ain't like it is now.
That's the worst season in the league that I've experienced in terms of how low we finished and stuff like that. I never felt at any point during that season that we would go down or that we were in a relegation battle. There was a couple of dodgy moments, and I say that game against Norwich was a big game. I remember Lee Dixon scored the first goal, and he really celebrated because he knew how important it was for us to win that game. And then after that, I think we won a couple more games and we were safe. And then
took the pressure off.
But I never felt then with the team that we had that team would never go down. And I don't feel like that with this team. This team, you just don't know, and it's possible. And that's the thing that's worrying me. And I've never felt like this about Arsenal, that team before, ever. We've had some poor teams that I've seen in the early 80s and stuff like that, but I've never ever felt at any point that we would ever get relegated. And I'm not saying I think that we will now, but what I'm saying is it is a possibility. I think we need to understand that if things don't change in the next 3 or 4 months, we're going to get to the back end of the season at a crucial time, and we are going to be in trouble. And anything can happen. I mean, we would probably be the best team to ever get relegated.
Yeah, but don't you think
the players that we've got in the squad, we probably.
But don't you think the reason for you feeling like that, and perhaps all of us, is that the problem we've got is that a lot of our players don't have any heart, and if they seem to be, you can have good and bad players, but if you haven't got a heart, you've got no chance, and therefore it's irrelevant how good these players are, because once they lose heart, they're not going to do it. Whereas
And that was
teams like you spoke about, the Lee Dixons in the team, the Winterburns, or you could name 8 of them. You know, they'd run through a brick wall. You thought, all right, perhaps they're not on their game. They're very good players, not on their game, but at some stage they're going to fight and get you out of this. You don't feel that.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's why about that '95 team, I never felt we would go down simply for the fact that we had those players that you've mentioned. Tony Adams was captain, and you know, you just knew that it wouldn't happen. Whereas now we've got no leadership anywhere in the team, off the pitch. It's just a mess. And unfortunately, that's probably why you're right. That is probably why we feel like it now, for that reason, because we don't have anything to cling to looking on the pitch. The only little bit of glimmer of hope I've got was Martinelli's performance the other night, because you know, a 19-year-old kid coming into that game, he worked his absolute socks off, didn't he?
Oh, it was amazing.
Unbelievable. And what I don't understand, right, and this is something I touched on in my video earlier today, that when Arteta first came, we played Chelsea last year, his first home game, we pressed from the start of that game. We pressed and pressed and pressed. We were brilliant for an hour. We ran out of steam and we lost.
Yeah.
Where's that gone? We're not pressing at all. Martinelli was the only one. He came in the team the other night and he was pressing and pressing and pressing. The only one he was. And it did kind of force a couple of others to do it as well, didn't it? They rubbed off on him a little bit. Why isn't Arteta insisting on that? He insisted on it last year when he first came in. Why is he not insisting on it now? What's gone wrong with that? Why are we not doing that anymore? Yes, it's hard work. Let's be honest. You can't keep that for 90 minutes. It's hard to do. But we're not doing it at all. At any point, we haven't done it for months. And that really brought it home to me. So watching Martinelli the other night, because that's all he did. He just chased and put players under pressure from Man City. And he did it really well, and nobody else did. Added even more to it.
You know what? With Martinelli, I'm a bit worried with Martinelli. You're seeing him again play, you forget what you've missed, right? Because he is like a little Sanchez, right? You forget all that. He's got everything going. That cross he made for the goal was amazing. I love that. You know, we missed all that, right? Putting that aside, I'd love to see him play 90 minutes every game, but not now for a couple of reasons. Number one, he's just come back from injury. Number two, he's young and too much responsibility on young shoulders. Number three, he is going to, and it's proved before, he's going to get kicked to hell by the when the other team realises who's their main player. Not Aubameyang, it's Martinelli. Once he gets the ball, they're going to hit him. And it happened last year, I think, against Everton when he played away. They smashed him, Smitheries. And we haven't got anyone on that pitch to actually protect him. They thought they're going to kick Martinelli. They're going to get a little bit back themselves. They'll perhaps have a second thought. They don't care. Once they've done it, they've done it. There's no fear at all. And I don't want it. I genuinely want him to play because I love watching him play. I think he's great and he'd be good for the team. But I think we might be sacrificing him long term by playing him too much. And I would rather him go play sparingly. As much as I want to see him every minute, I would sacrifice that to when he's 2021. We've got bigger players and better players and more heart players to protect him. I'd rather him play then. But, you know, that's another talk.
With him in the team, we've got more chance of winning games. That's the
I know. That's
the impact he had the other night. Set up the goal. We wouldn't have scored a goal without him in that team. He caused panic to Man City. He caused panic every time he got the ball. And we don't have anyone else who can do that. So to me, he's got to play. I agree with you that he probably will get kicked out a lot of games, but we've got no other options. He has to play because he's the only hope we've got of winning a game at the moment. Obviously getting Partey back as well. I think those two being in the side are going to make a difference. They are. And I think that with bearing in mind that that's hopefully going to happen quite soon, we'll have them both in the team. We should see a turnaround in results just because those two players are 100 times better than everybody else that we've got, and they're going to raise the standard of the play just having those two in the team. It's not enough. Obviously, we need more if we're going to really turn things around properly. But in terms of relegation, just having those two in the team, you can't tell me that if those two are playing pretty much every league game between now and the end of the season, there's no way we'll get relegated with those two playing regularly. There's absolutely no chance. But if they're not playing, if they're injured, or like you said, if Martinelli gets injured, or if Thomas Partey doesn't come back for ages, then we are in serious trouble. And there's no doubt about that because we haven't got anybody else. We just haven't, unfortunately.
Not in anything. From the other night, it's just because we were always told early mid-January he'll be back. It just seemed a bit last resort desperation from Arteta, and it could have backfired. It almost did because he did pick up an injury as well. We don't know that there's 50-50 if he's going to start now on Saturday.
He was supposed to play the under-23s, wasn't he, at the weekend? And then he got pulled out of that because of Aubameyang's injury. So he got pulled out of that and thrown straight into the squad at Everton, came on, did okay, and then literally thrown straight. I mean, how many players are we had that's been out for quite a long time injured that he eases back in gradually? With Martinelli, we're so desperate, he's just thrown him straight in.
We've done it with Partey, Richard, at Spurs. He did it, didn't he?
Yeah, Partey as well.
Right, that's just desperation, isn't it? Yeah. Desperation. You don't have anybody else that's good enough to come in and do what they do, and even if they're not fit.
Do you know what? I look back at last season when Aubameyang got that match ban at Palace, and then you look at Martinelli and how much of an inspiration he was when he came into the team. And I think Arteta is just basically trying to do that again and think, if it's not broken, why try to fix it? Do you know what I mean? But we know Martinelli is a young kid, and my worry is we're going to burn him out. I look at Saka right now. He's kind of slowly regressing a little bit. I don't think a lot of people kind of noticed that. But he hasn't really been trying that much. Well, everything's on Saka right now. Always to the left, always to Saka. And again, we're relying on a young guy to really help us through the game. And to be honest, it kind of just shows us that we need to get rid of a lot of these senior players, and we kind of need to focus on the future. And you know, when you hear news about Balogun Liverpool interested in Balogun, it worries you a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Because I even put this out on Twitter. I kind of want to see Saka, Balogun, and Martinelli going forward in the next few seasons. Do you know what I'm saying? Or try that out, you know, very soon. But I don't know. Innit? That's all I can really say on that, which worries me.
Right, and I think if you're talking about Saka going down a level, and his form has dropped off. I don't think it's just because he's being played too much. I think you've got to remember who he's playing with. He's actually got to do it all himself. If he played with better people, I'm sure on the left-hand side, he's had to play with Kolasinac the other night. He had to play with Xhaka. I mean, and you're struggling. And with a midfield that won't give him the ball going forward. So therefore, it's not. I don't put it down on him at all. I think there's so many things going against him, and thank God he's doing what he's doing, because I think other people would have been broken, youngsters like that.
He's got his head screwed on right. That's the good thing about him. He's got his head screwed on right, and you can see that he's mature enough to deal with all of this that's going on at the moment and come through it a stronger player. Whereas I think some of the other young players maybe haven't got that strength of character, or they haven't got the right mentality for it. And I think some of them would suffer if they were playing regularly in this team. I think a lot of them would suffer for the future, whereas I don't think Saka will. The only problem is he might leave himself more open to injury because of how much he's playing. That's the only danger, I suppose. But again, he's another player that we need him in the team, because he's like we said, one of the only players that you know he's going to put in a performance pretty much every week. There's only him, Tierney, Martinelli, Gabriel probably, and that's it, really, isn't it? That are regularly putting in the performances that we need week in, week out, giving 100%, working hard. The others, literally, if all of the others in that squad were to go, doesn't matter. We're not going to be any worse off because they're not contributing enough. None of them. It's only really those four. We need to build our team around those four players, and obviously Thomas Partey when he's fit as well. And then
you know what's quite strange? You mentioned that, and you're right. The way he has to gamble with the youngsters because of their best players in more ways than one, with their heart and everything else that go, and their spirit, which the others haven't got. But he won't give her any chance in the first team on a league basis to Smith Rowe. I'm not saying he's the greatest. I don't know. I've seen him play a bit, and what I've seen, I've really liked. And he's played in the Championship, where people hit you. So I don't think there's too much bother about that. And I'm thinking to myself, where do we lack? Creativity. We've got Ozil, who he's not going to play, right? Or we've got this kid who could play. Now, if we suddenly spend £50 million on Ozil in January and think we're going to be all right, I don't know. He could be the greatest. I saw him in the European. He could be good. He could be better. I'm not convinced what I saw. But have a young kid coming through with a heart. I'd rather have that to give a chance to that, because I think the kid's got it. Did you see? I know it's only on television, gentlemen, but you could pick out he's running off the ball, even though it was on television. You haven't seen that from anybody else. No. Saka sometimes drifts and does it, but no one else does it, you know. And it's lovely to see that. It is he gets the ball in one movement. He's going forward. In one movement, he knows what he's going to do with the ball. He doesn't stand there thinking and waiting to be hit. He knows exactly when the ball's coming to him, what he's going to do and who's around him. I love seeing that in a footballer. He is an actual footballer.
But why hasn't Arteta then put him more in the squad? Because he's not even hardly been in the squad, has he? Very rarely. I just don't
I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense.
To me, it just comes off like he doesn't trust them too much, which to me is crazy. But like at the same time, I feel like we need better, experienced players in that midfield for those youngsters to come in and be, be their protector. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you pointed earlier, I feel like if Partey was there, and personally, I'll get someone beside Partey, get rid of Xhaka, get someone that's better quality than Xhaka, that's experienced, then bring in Smith Rowe with him. If not, bring in that Buendia guy from Norwich. We're good. Do you know what I mean? Or you get Buendia and then Smith Rowe comes on, interchange with them two. Do you know what I mean? Then Smith Rowe get more chances and stuff like that. But that's just what I would do in it personally. I just don't feel there's not enough tools for these youngsters to come in to really get relied on. But it doesn't mean I accept what Arteta's doing. No way. I still think Emil Smith-Rowe should be slowly integrated into this team. I look at Joe Willock. I said at the start of the season, for me, and I don't really care if the squad was going to be a little bit thin. He should be on loan in the Championship. I've been saying this for so long. Willock never gets loaned out properly. And he's just there, and people batter him because he's not up to the quality or the level yet for the Premier League. He tries, I get that, and he has a bad game here and there. But without proper experience and a proper loan move, this is what you're going to get. The same goes for Eddie Nketiah, which for me, I feel a lot of people are throwing him under the bus because we're more annoyed that he's getting picked right now over the likes of Balogun, where we can see a talent. We've seen Eddie enough. He should have got a loan move properly. And I know like Leeds didn't really work out because Bielsa kind of saw Bamford as, let me give Bamford more of a chance. And the thing is, Eddie really should have went back out on loan at the back end of last season. I know Lacazette wasn't really firing, but you should have just put Aubameyang through the middle and then Lacazette just come off the bench and then change it up a little bit. Do you know what I mean? But again, this is what I feel. I feel with a lot of frustration within the fan base. It's just like we're seeing Arteta pick the same old people, and this is why, for me, obviously, I don't want the manager here anymore. I've been like that since the Villa game, but it's poor man management. And how are these youngsters supposed to learn and get filtered in instead of playing Europa League? Because you can play Europa League until it's over, until you're either out or you go to the next round. And when you get to the next round, you're going to play tougher opposition. And I guarantee most of that young squad that we saw play against Dundalk or Mulder, they're not really going to feature against Benfica. And then you're going to wonder when they're going to play against next FA Cup, because we're out of the League Cup already. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, this is the issue.
You're
right.
Sorry, with Willock, my only thing about going on loan is I don't think Willock will make any improvements because he's got it all. He's got the speed, he's tough, he can ride a tackle, he's got everything apart from the final ball. Where's he going to learn that? That should be there anyway, in my opinion. That should be, if you're a natural footballer, that should happen. And he hasn't got it, and that's the worry. Can you actually teach someone that, or should he have it anyway? Going down the division won't teach the final ball.
I think so, because if you look at certain players that's left Arsenal, they've kind of gone on to do better stuff. Look at Gnabry. Do you know what I mean? He left Arsenal.
Name me two others that have done very well. Kids.
Kids words. Oh boy, I have to come back.
Difficult, isn't it?
It is difficult, but I mean, he does need a loan for me. He still does need a loan. It's just like you said, the final ball's not good enough. I feel he's hesitant on the ball. He takes too many touches, but you can see something's there. Whether he's Arsenal quality or not, there's a player in there. It might work out for him at another club, same as Eddie Nketiah, but that's just the reality of it. We've had players that have gone on to do better at other clubs than Arsenal. Why is that? Because of the coaching. It's as simple as that. Because of various things at Arsenal might not be right for us, and it might be better off for West Ham or Everton or etc. Do you know what I'm saying? Iwobi could get a lot better under Carlo Ancelotti. We don't know that yet. And if he does, then well, that proves my point also. But that remains to be seen.
Well, he may not be getting better, but he's now starting a lot more games since this season under Carlo Ancelotti as well. So, and Carlo wouldn't pick him if he didn't think he was anywhere near good enough to the level he wants his players to be at.
That's what I'm saying. Carlo
as well. It goes back to the old Iwobi's playing well and he's featuring because he's got 9 other great good players around him. If he had the rubbish around him that Arsenal have got now, we would be burning him off the park, wouldn't we? Look at Iwobi. It's not his fault necessarily.
No.
Our fan base did that before when he was at the club. So
I wrote down a list here, right? Going through, I was doing it earlier on today, going through our current squad, right? And I actually would, as soon as we possibly can, there's 15 players that I would get rid of straight away. And I wouldn't keep them. And the 15 are, I don't know whether you lot agree, Mustafi, Chambers, Bellerin, Xhaka, Ceballos, Kolasinac, Pepe, Willian, Nketiah, Willock, Ozil, Socrates, Renarson, Holding, and David Luiz. Those 15 should be gone. And then we should keep the players that we should be bringing in. I think Macy should be given an opportunity. Aziz, Balogun, Smith-Rowe, Leno, obviously, Gabriel, Pablo Mari, Maitland-Niles, Suarez, El Neni, Partey, Tierney, Martinelli, and Saka. Keep all them. Build the team, build the squad around them. Obviously, bring in some different players and get rid of those 15. If those 15, if any of them never play for the club again, I wouldn't be bothered. And I think that it's the only way we're going to move forward because none of them are good enough.
Richard, you're right. Arsenal. You're right, Richard. I agree with everything you've said apart from one player. If we're going to suddenly get rid of 15 and bring in, say, 5 or 6, right, then I think we can afford to let El Neni go because he's not a first teamer, in my opinion. He's the type of guy you bring on or someone gets sent off or injured.
I think the only reason why is because at the moment, midfield, we don't have a lot of numbers, do we? And
well, if you start buying players, if you sell 15, we might have to get some in. That's what I prefer to happen. It won't happen. That's what I prefer.
Yeah, maybe that might be one. Yeah, perhaps then. I mean, that you've got that. Ben Cotterer. He can kind of play in a similar role. Yeah. Maybe promote him up then and get rid of El Neni as well. That'd be 16 gone. And again, it wouldn't bother me losing any of those players because I don't think any of them are the sort of players that's going to move the club forward. A lot of them have had plenty of opportunities. Some of them maybe are young players that maybe haven't quite had the opportunities yet. Another player I put in that list is Mavropanos as well. I know we've forgotten about him, but there's no point in coming back to the club because he's never going to play. So maybe move him on as well. That's 17 players out of a squad of what, 25 in the Premier League squad, and that's like
that's going to take about 3 seasons at least to get rid of all that.
So, the problem we have with the manager, the problem we've got with changing managers is we've got 3/4 of our squad that aren't good enough. Whatever manager comes in, he's got to work with these players, and he's got no chance. You know, Pep Guardiola would struggle. Alex Ferguson at his prime would struggle with these players. He would. There's no doubt about it. And I feel
probably lay into them a little bit more, though. That's the one thing about Fergie. He'll lay into them more.
Yeah,
I'll give him that. But I know what you mean. I know what you mean. He will struggle.
But out of them, wouldn't he? I'd actually include Lacazette in that as well. I know Mark's got comment, and I'd probably include Lacazette in that list as well.
Yeah.
Actually,
I forgot about him.
He should have left last season.
Yeah. So that's another one. That's 18. That's now 18 players in this squad that aren't good enough. And we wonder why we're 5th from bottom in the Premier League. This is why.
True.
Arteta's made mistakes, right? Let's not beat around the bush. Arteta's made mistakes. He's a young manager. He's learning on the job. He's made mistakes, but any manager with these players would struggle. There's absolutely no doubt. We've got in the past. Arsene Wenger had a few poor players in his squad, but he had a core of decent players that was able to get us finishing in the top 4. Now we've got very, very few decent players. In fact, I would only really look for Martinelli, is Gabriel and Thomas Partey, as I said before, and Saka, and Aubameyang.
Tierney.
Is Aubameyang going to recover his form that he had previously? I don't know if he can now. I hope he can. I've still got faith.
I just think he needs a playmaker. I think he needs a playmaker.
Yeah,
that's the only thing with Aubameyang. Yeah, this is what's missing with him, and
I hope he can come back and get goals again for another year or two, and that'll be fine. But I mean, there's just too many players in his squad that just are not good enough for what we need. And if we want to move forward and challenge again for the top 6, for the top 4, or even, you know, beyond that, we're never going to do any of it while we've got all these players. And like you said there, Ryan, it's going to take a long time to get rid of them all and replace them, because we're not a club who's going to go out and buy 10 players in one transfer window. We're not going to do it. Even if we manage to get not anyone to buy them.
I'll say this, yeah. We really should have started clearing this out in Emery's first season. Also, Richard, I wanted to ask you, like, what about Guendouzi and Torreira? Because I don't remember you saying any of those two. Would you keep them or would you sell them?
I've forgotten about them because obviously they've not played this season for us.
I
would bring him back in. Actually, I'll bring him back in. Torreira, I don't think ever settled in England, and I'm not sure whether he ever would. I think he's a good player. He's probably better than what we've got, but can he settle?
I think he'd be good with Barty.
I'd definitely get Guendouzi back in, definitely, and I'd get him back. And he would like actually what Melvin said. He would give us more than El Neni. So yeah, that would be a good. Get Guendouzi back in for El Neni, then that's an improvement straight away, isn't it?
Definitely. But Richard, he had a chance. You're saying he's stuck with his squad. I don't know who made the decision. I don't know if it's even true. But evidently there was bids on the table for quite a few of our players that are dead wood.
Yes, there was.
You know, and we never took. And basically, and also there's one Holding could have gone on loan. All right, no money for him. But all of a sudden, a lot of players he turned around to Arteta allegedly, because we don't know if it's true, and goes, I'm not sure about you now. Now I want you. You're not going anywhere. And you have to think, hold on a minute. If this is true, that's big mistakes. Very big mistakes.
Inexperience. That's what that's called.
Yeah, and also Ryan says that name one of our players that gets into any side in the top 6.
Martinelli.
Yeah, that's the only one I think of. Bang. Yeah,
Martinelli. He'd get in any team in Europe. That boy, any team anywhere in the world, he'd get in. Other than that, you're struggling, aren't you? Saka, he's got potential to be a top 6 player. I think Saka.
Tierney, perhaps.
Tierney and Gabriel. That's it.
Yeah.
Tierney, Gabriel.
End of.
Yeah.
Beginning of the season, you would have thought with the team we've got, the squad we've got, and knowing that we're definitely going to sign Partey, you'd have said, certainty top 6. We might even do top 4. And now we're saying we can't pick players to get in the top 6.
Yeah.
I actually predicted us to get 6 this season because I knew it was still going to be an uphill battle. When you know all these lower teams like Everton and Leicester, Wolves, look, even West Ham. I thought West Ham were going to be down there, but now they're all the way up there, and it's just going to be even more humble.
Up there to us.
But you know what? Someone asked me a question the other day, and they said to me, "Right, so do you think when you look at the times that Wenger consistently got us top 4 with a squad where we thought, no way, they're not good enough to challenge for the league title, which they weren't, and you compare it now, look at all the teams that have improved now. Do you think we'd have still finished top 4 with those teams? Probably not. I think we kind of missed the boat on trying to get players that we have now in a team back then. Do you know what I'm saying? Like a complement centre back like Gabriel, Tierney, a Partey in midfield. Do you know what I'm saying? I think we've missed out on all those when we had Alexis Sanchez, Mesut Ozil, Cazorla still at the squad. Do you know what I mean? Aaron Ramsey, certain players still at the team. We had those 3 and maybe a proper goalkeeper at that point. Then I don't know, innit? Maybe we would have done a lot better. I'm not saying won the league, but we might have done a lot better than we did back then. But my point is, I feel like we had the advantage back then to improve the team as we did now. But the problem is the teams below us that weren't really being competitive are now, and we've regressed because of a lot of circumstances. So I don't know, man.
But yeah, in Emery's first season, we were 1 point off the top 4, which we should have got. We look at some of them games at the end of that season that we threw away, right? The Crystal Palace game at home, Brighton at home, a few others, Everton
away for me.
Yeah. So we should have finished top 4, but it was only 1 point off the top 4. That was just two years ago. And that look how quickly we've got back from there. I'm not saying that if we'd kept that same team, we could have been in the top 4, because like you said, everybody else has improved their squads and we don't seem to have done enough. We've still got a lot of the players that aren't good enough in the squad playing regularly. Yes, we've brought in Gabriel, great signing. Is going to be a great signing. Martinelli's a great signing when they're all fit and playing. But other than that, other teams have got 5 or 6 or 7 better players since then into their squad, and we haven't. And we've still got the same crap players that were underperforming and getting away with it because we had Alexis Sanchez, like you said, because we had Aaron Ramsey, because we had these big players who could turn up and win us games when we needed it. Arsene Wenger knew that. He could rely on them guys, and they did it for him. And we don't have them, and all these other crap players that were pushed along with that and were able to be part of that team. Now that they're now become our experienced players, and they're now the sort of the main players in the team. And this is why we're where we are, because we've got these players and now have got too much responsibility in the team, and there's no one else to come in. We haven't got a Sanchez anymore. We haven't got a Ramsey anymore. We don't have them players who can win us games. We don't have an Ozil, peak Ozil in maybe 2015, 2016 Ozil. We don't have any players like that in the squad anymore. You know, we've got Aubameyang who literally needs people to set him up, or he can't score on his own because he's not a good enough player, and that's it. You know, and he's our go-to player. He's our top goal scorer, and we can't rely on him with the crap around him because he's not that sort of player. He's not going to get us out of the shit in the way that Alexis Sanchez could. Alexis Sanchez could take the game on his own. The game on his own.
Right.
We haven't got a player who can do that other than Martinelli, and he's been out for 6-7 months, and he's only just come back. And
I even throw Saka in there as well. I even throw Saka in that.
Yeah, but I still think he's still a little bit. I don't know. He's not quite at that level yet, where he can just grab a game by the scruff of the neck, drive us on, and win us a game.
Oh no! But if you look at,
I don't think.
But if you look at what he did against Southampton, sorry, Rich, like if he'd ever done that, I don't think we would have scored. I've got to be honest with you.
No, he's got great moments in him.
Moments in him. Yeah. That's my point. I just feel like he's a person that would
won more games. Because we played in most of the games. We would have won more if he was able to grab a game by the scruff neck on a consistent basis. We would have won more games because he was in the team.
What year did Leicester win the league? What was it? 2000 and what?
16.
2015, 16. Yeah.
Right. Well, I remember the year before that they nearly went down. Right.
Yeah.
We played them at the Emirates.
Yeah, I remember that.
We were 2-0 up. They nicked the goal, and I'm thinking, this team ain't that bad, right? And we scraped the 2-1 victory, right? Would you have thought then, when Leicester nearly went down that season, you'd say that Leicester team is going to win the league before us? That's number one question. Obviously not. And number two question, would you ever thought that in 4 or 5 years' time, Leicester are going to have 11 players on the park that most of them are better than what Arsenal will have on the park?
No.
And that's what it's like at the moment. I don't see the weakness in Leicester's team, Richard. I'm sorry. They may not all even be like international superstars on my shoulder, on my head, but they are terrific players. They do a job and they work as a team. They've got, I don't see the weakness. Even when their right back got injured. Pereira, what's his name with a P begins?
Pereira, yeah. Pereira.
What a great fullback he is. And he's injured. They've got some other geezer in, not a problem. The left back gets sold with Chelsea for 50,000, not a problem. You know what I'm saying here? And they've got everyone is doing their job. And the way they smashed Spurs the other day was superb. And they've done it before. We could never have a result like that. And how many players would they want from us? It was it's turned around from 5 years ago. It's not as if Leicester were all of a sudden someone put £50 billion into them. They've actually been very clever in the market.
Yeah. Melvin, you made a good point at the start of that. That particular game that you're referring to, like you said, you could see something about that Leicester team that night. They had something about them, didn't they?
Yeah.
And although we beat them, and we ended up finishing in the top 4 that season, and they nearly got relegated. There was something about them that night when you watched them. You thought this team's got something.
You had the same feeling, did you?
Yeah. Oh, definitely, yeah. Because I thought they should won that game. Actually, we were quite lucky to.
We were.
We was quite fortunate that we scored, and they battered the second half. And you saw that team, and you thought, you'd never have thought they'd have won the league the year after. You'd never have thought they'd have gone on to what they've done. But you could see something about it. Whereas with us now, we're in a similar position in the league, and we haven't got that about us at all. We have nothing like that. They were fighting for each other. They had a system, and I know they've changed their manager, I think, quite a bit, haven't they? In actual fact, but that team had something, and now a lot of them players have moved on and gone on to other clubs as well, haven't they? Like you said, Chilwell's gone to Chelsea, Kante's gone to Chelsea as well, and there's a few others.
Mahrez,
50 million for him.
They've lost a lot of their good players actually from there.
And look where they are.
Yeah, exactly, because they've replaced them with the right players, haven't they? That's the difference.
You made a good point, Richard.
Yeah, you're right.
Very good point. They're very good, and they've changed their managers. It hasn't weakened them at all, and that comes from the top. We can't do that.
No.
Obviously, when they buy and sell, they've done it so much better than us over the last 5-10 years, right? Most certainly the last 5 years. They get top dollar for their good stars, and they replace them for half the price, and they're just as good. They got now this centre half, the Turkish guy, I can't remember what's his name, that we were looking at. He's not even in the team.
No.
You know what I mean? He's not even in the team, and it makes no difference at all. We were after him, weren't we? A couple of years ago, we were after him.
We took Socrates instead.
Because up above the manager, they must be much classier than us, Leicester, I'm afraid to say. They must know what they're doing. The structure must be better because they don't seem to make the rickets we do when they get managers or anything.
Their own, obviously, I know the helicopter thing, but his son's now taken over from him. And they had a plan for the club. And that's what they've done, and they're following it through, and you can see the result of that. As you said, they've gone, yes, okay, they won the title. They're probably not going to win it again, but that doesn't matter because they're Leicester, and what they've done is amazing. When you look at how they've done it, with the players they've lost, the players that they've brought in, and they'll no doubt sell a few more for big dollars when some of these players will get picked up by other bigger clubs, and they'll just recruit again and carry on because that's what their owner wants to do. That's their model, if you like. They've been talking about Arsenal having a process. Arsenal haven't got a process at all. Leicester have got a process. We haven't got fuck all. Honestly, we haven't got a process. And everyone's saying, trust the process. What is the process? Throwing in a manager, inexperienced manager, to this absolute shitstorm at our club and expecting him to succeed. That's our process. I'm sorry, but we've got no chance. We didn't have from the start. Arteta's coming. I feel sorry for him because he's going to get sacked. There's no doubt about it. Because Arsenal.
Do you really think so? You think he gets sacked?
I don't know. He should have been sacked already, Rich.
Well, I don't know. It's not his fault. I don't think it's his fault. Or only
some of
his
it
fault.
is.
He's to blame. He is to blame for some of it, yeah. But
higher
up and getting a new manager isn't necessarily going to be the answer. But I don't think he can survive this run of results if it carries on much longer. He can't because we're Arsenal and we can't be 15th, 16th, 17th in the Premier League table going into January and February. We can't. And if we still are, he will be sacked. I don't think there's any doubt about it. He knows it. Everybody knows it. And it's just a matter of time. He either manages to turn it around, which I can't see with all these players that we've said that shouldn't even be there. And I do think he will get sacked. And I feel sorry for him because I don't think he could have done any more with what he's got. Honestly, I don't. He's won us the FA Cup and that was brilliant. And he'll always be remembered for that. But I don't think he can do any more with his team. Yes, he could maybe try a few more younger players more regularly, play Smith Rowe more often, give Balogun more of a run. Ultimately, would that necessarily make a lot of difference? It might make a little bit. We might win a couple of games here and there. But ultimately, with the group of players that we've got, the squad that we've got, if we finish 10th, that's probably about the maximum this squad can do because they're not good enough.
Probably, yeah.
And as you said before, it's going to take 4 or 5 years to actually rebuild this in the way that Leicester have done. If we wanted to follow that, we're not going to follow that plan because we've got owners who don't care in the same way. And that's the problem that we've got as well, first of all. But it would take 4 or 5. If we got new owners in tomorrow, it'd still probably take 3 or 4 years, wouldn't it, to turn this around.
I've got a plumber coming down tomorrow to make it. Something's wrong with it at the moment.
Also, Steve in the chat.
I'll quickly make this point though. In terms of we look upstairs. Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine. Oh, it's gone.
Sorry. I just wanted to quickly make this point. This whole process bull BS. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it. I'm trying to keep it clean. This whole process BS, right? How can it be a process when you got a guy coming in from marketing, taking over from Ralph Sinetti? Look at that. You got Edu, who's inexperienced in his role. You got Arteta, who's inexperienced in his role. It's a joke. They're saying trust the process. How are we trusting people that have no experience on their CV? That makes no sense. Honest to God, it makes no sense. And the joke is, they said it was a process 5 years ago, then fine.
They're using the word process. All it is a word. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah. It's a throwaway line. That's all it is.
100%. Exactly. It's just,
but the process is
it's for me, it's just I don't know how to feel, man. I'm sorry.
If there's a real process,
they lie to us every year. honestly.
You'd have David O'Leary where what Vinay's doing. You know, David O'Leary hasn't got the experience, but he's an Arsenal man. As you said before, Melvin agrees. He's an Arsenal man. He bleeds the club. He's our most capped player in our club's history. We approached him. Apparently, we approached him back in the summer. Vowell blocked it, but we haven't approached him since, which makes no sense because now Vowell's no longer there. So David O'Leary should be coming in and going into that role. He's had Mark Overmars, who's literally on the verge of leaving Ajax into the season anyway. Bring him in, Edu out, because again he's more experienced on the because Edu had experience coming to Arsenal, but that was on an international stage, not at club level and a global thing. Whereas Mark Overmars has the experience on club level at Europeans and the European club level, everything, and the academy. Him and the Van der Sar situation, they work together. The academy over there is king the bollocks basically.
If you wanted, Ryan, to copy any club from kids through to the first team, you'd blueprint Ajax, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
If you had a chance, you would blueprint and go, you know what? They seem to churn out players year after year. They've done it for 30, 25, 30 years. And they keep hitting the top spot and they keep losing their best players because of the way it is in Holland, the way the economy works over there. Right?
Mm.
Why wouldn't you want to copy what Holland do, what Ajax do? Explain to me what the downside is, especially getting a geezer that knows our club, that's played for our club, and you can see he's no fool.
Yeah. And
What's
again,
the downside? There is no downside in my opinion.
Like David O'Leary, he would bleed Arsenal because he's got that Arsenal DNA in him from his playing days. That again, as I said, that would be a process. That would be a process everyone at the fan base will get on board with. Even the younger generation who don't know the players from their playing days, they'll get on board with it. It's just this makes no sense. It's like a cheap and cheerful process, basically. It's like the word, like you said, the process is just a word, but they've gone for cheap and cheerful. They've gone for someone who doesn't have a clue in Vinay, who's just inherited the role after fucking Ivan Gazidis done what he done and fucked us over. And then Vowell continued it. He's just inherited that role. That's all he's done. He ain't earned it or anything, got to that level. And Edu, yes, people go, oh, he's an Arsenal, he's invincible. Yeah, but again, he'd never had enough experience. He had experience, but not to, again, international level, never at club level. And this is a club, international and club level is completely different. And he's seeing that and he's struggling. And this is where it made, because for years we've been linked to Mark Overmars, it made so much sense. It makes even more sense now that he said he's leaving.
You know something? The people we had to take on board,
Bring them home.
Start from our last manager, not Arteta, the one before him. It can be taken about Edu. It can be spoken about a lot of guys that suddenly got jobs with the Arsenal that have been big failures and left. Some of them have left. I reckon they're all like members, MPs. They talk such a good game. But when you go, we'll vote for you, mate. We'll give you my vote. You got my vote. They get in there only because of what they've said, not what they've done. And all of a sudden, they got the thing. They're going, oh, I can't do this. But it don't matter. I'm in here for 3 years. I've been voted in by the board of Arsenal. And that's the problem. They get suckered in by someone saying something without actually any content to it. You know,
Didn't Arteta do that, though? Didn't Arteta do that? Because his first couple of press conferences, you thought, wow. And if he went to if they spoke to him and he spoke like that as he did in his early press conferences, no wonder the club employed him because he sold himself immediately. We all bought it. Well. Look at his press conferences now, coming out with his bollocks about all these statistics and stuff.
Percentages.
He sounds like Emery in his last few months. Do you think he sounds like Emery in his last few months? Where he's talking absolute rubbish.
Parallels.
No doubt.
He's in the plot, man. That's what it sounds like. A manager's under pressure. I will say that, but under pressure from the fan base, not upstairs. For me,
no, manager to lose the game
from upstairs as well. Now I do. We've won one in our last 10 league games. That's for a club like Arsenal. There's pressure. He'll be getting pressure from upstairs. I do think he will be.
He better be getting pressure upstairs.
You can say I don't know, and how many more defeats it needs to take for them to make the move. I don't know, but there's suddenly becoming more and more top quality managers out there available. That the pressure on the ball to do something soon is really, really going to be a lot greater. You know, because we could miss out again. We missed out on Klopp, if you remember, when he was on the move. We've missed out on.
Who'd you blame for that?
Well, yeah, we know.
Yeah,
for that.
well, we know who's to blame.
And
It's got.
We could be doing the same again now, hanging on to a manager
Yeah.
for no reason. There's no reason to hang on to Arteta because he hasn't proved himself in management. It's not like you can back up and say, well, he's done this before, he can do it again. He won the FA Cup, that's it. And, but that's slightly different circumstances maybe with the stuff that happened last season. But anyway, he's got nothing to back himself up. So to me, we've got no reason to hang on to him. The fact he played for Arsenal for a few years.
Nothing to do with anything.
No.
I don't care about that. I wanted Cesc Fabregas to come back, not him. Sorry, I still. That's what I wanted when I was younger. I was a big Fabregas fan when I was younger. I wanted him to come home, and then we get Arteta, and it's like what? And then this guy goes to Chelsea
as well, wasn't it? That was Ben Redford's choice.
Yeah,
yes.
Wenger lost my trust at that point.
You know what's quite strange? I've done a few. It's got through to everybody. It's got through to me. But if we get beat, or in the past when we got beat with other managers, Wenger or wherever you like, and give the reason why we got beat, you'd have an excuse and you'd half believe it. Though you'd seen the game, you in your mind you know what's gone on, but you're going, well, actually, because this happened. Now, if we get beat and Arteta says, well, actually, the fault was we had 8 men sent off, and we did have 8 men sent off, we still wouldn't actually believe what he's saying or accept what he's saying because we think he's talking BS now. I don't actually listen that much to what he says. It goes in one ear, comes out the other ear, and I'm like not really filtering it because I'm not really that interested. Because in my opinion, on some of those results and more and more so performances, he's got no defence. And once you try and defend something that's indefensible, I turn off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve in the chat is saying, he says, I think if we had the 60,000 fans in the stadium, Arteta would have already been set by now. Right now, there's no way, apart from obviously social media, for the fans to show their displeasure and obviously then the board. Obviously, I don't know, words mixed up there at the end, but basically, you got a point because if you look back when Wenger stepped down, and obviously when Emery got sacked last year, it was all around that time. Fans stopped going to the games, so a lot more empty seats, and it didn't look good on the owners for the club in terms of revenue and things like sponsorship deals. So they acted, whereas now, because it's all behind closed doors, it's like, well, yeah, they're going off on social media, but social media, we don't really care. Exactly. I mean, what concerned me in the last couple of weeks is Edu, with these comments of saying everything's fantastic, he's doing a great job. And we're all sitting there like, are you?
It's a little bit of who are you? What's he got to talk about? I don't want to hear from him.
I think
to do with him. His job is to get players in, get players out, and sort a few other things out. It's not for him to come to the press and make excuses for the team. I'm sorry.
I mean, going back to that about the fans and stuff like that, right? There was a lot of Arsenal fans in the end that were very much behind Wenger out, wasn't there? Every game you went to, there were banners and there were chants. And now a lot of those same fans who wanted Wenger out for finishing the top 4 want to back Arteta, want to stick by Arteta when we're 15th in the league. It makes no sense. If you wanted Wenger out for finishing 4th, you wanted Arteta out absolutely months ago. And it's a simple fact as that. I mean, I knew Wenger had to go. I wasn't particularly chanting for him to leave or anything like that. I love Wenger and what he brought to the club. I knew it was time to go. But all those people that were so vocal about Wenger out, now a lot of them are backing Arteta still. I don't get it.
It may not be the same people though, Richard. It may not be the same people though. It might still be a majority, but it may not be the same people that wanted Wenger out that now want Arteta in, I'm sure there are a lot of people like that, but I don't know if that's a definite putting in the same holes,
I think it's a mixed bag.
People on Twitter doing that.
Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
Quite a few.
I've seen some ground.
Out, and now we need to back Arteta. We need to stick by him. And yet, you wanted Wenger out when we were finishing top 4 every year with some really shit players.
Winning the FA Cup.
And winning the FA Cups, yeah. I know Arteta's won the FA Cup.
What happened if we lost the FA Cup final? Then what?
Oh, God forbid.
This is what I want to know. What if Pulisic never got injured or Kovacic never got sent off? Then what? Because I think Chelsea would have won that. I'm going to be honest.
It's a good point. And now,
I'll be honest.
would the club have stuck by Arteta this long if we hadn't won the FA Cup? Has that bought him a little bit extra time with everybody? I don't know.
Definitely
It's not.
It does seem like it.
Would
I
we
don't
have
think
actually done better transfers? Would we have actually got rid of a load more players? Because we realised how crap they were, and winning the FA Cup papered over the cracks of some of these players. These players we knew were crap because we watched them for 3 years. All of a sudden, they won the FA Cup, and Arteta's going, it's not that bad, I told you. We keep them, we give them an extra contract, we give them a few more years. We're not interested in bids from you boys. We're keeping them. They won the FA Cup for me. And it's come back to bite us on the arse.
Yeah. Also, by the way,
You know what?
We've got this message on the screen, and obviously you mentioned something else in the chat, but we're not saying you were both. We're not saying that you specifically was Wenger out and now Arteta in and all that. We're just saying there are fans out there that were predominantly like, get him out. We know one of them in particular is on a big channel. Let's be honest. He was heavily out, and slated the guy left, right, and centre for years on end.
Yeah, I'm with you now. I've got clicked. Sorry, just clicked.
And now suddenly he's all for giving Arteta chance after chance after chance after chance.
Hanging on a thread, basically.
Popular opinion. It was popular to be Wenger out at the time, and now it's popular to support Arteta, and that's all people go for. They go for the popular opinion rather than actually what's important. Which is what's important to me. How Arsenal are doing on the pitch, and if we're doing crap, we have to change things. And whether that changes the manager, whether it's above the manager, whether it's both of them, whether it's getting rid of a load of players, that needs to. I want to see something change, because if we just leave things as they are, if we leave the same manager in place, the same people above the manager in place, keep the same players, we're going to be in this position again this year. If we survive this year, we're going to be in the same position next year and a year after. And we've got to make those changes to enable the club to grow again and to come back to somewhere near where we want us to be, which is challenging again for something. If it's top four or wherever it is, just challenging at the other end of the table, not trying to stay up, because we're Arsenal. That's not what we do.
I mean, also, Steve says in the chat as well, Arteta's CV says he sat beside a guy who was able to spend enormous amounts of money, like basically at the end of the check, to win and win all these trophies. He won at City and all that, and Barcelona and all that. Even then, that's not working anymore with Man City and Pep. So, Russ as well says he has perhaps 3 matches to save his job. If fans were in the stadium, he would have lost his job after the Burnley result. But quite a few people are thinking the fans.
A little bit before Burnley, you know. I don't know, man. A little bit before Burnley for me. Like I said, for me, Villa was the one that just said, "No, you definitely need to go." I was hanging on a thread.
I think Burnley would have been the final score if there was fans in the ground, in terms of the reaction at the final whistle of that game.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I think you're right. I think Burnley might have been the game, because Aston Villa, had we gone to the ground, we'd have been just shocked. Not been able to do anything. So what's going on? Shocked. When it comes to Burnley, reality set in.
And because with the Villa game as well, is that because of the result itself for the performance, that was the first under Arteta what we actually did. The players didn't turn up home or away, and we got thumped that day. That's the first time.
I think.
So you're a bit shocked, but it continued. It's continued since, and obviously that Burnley would have been the nail in the coffin. You're like, seriously.
I think Burnley would have been, if they were in the ground. I think that after that Burnley game, there would have been such a reaction that it may well have been enough. It's not a knee-jerk reaction, though, would it? Because we've been shit for 2 or 3 months. A knee-jerk reaction would have been getting rid of him after Villa, or a knee-jerk reaction would have been getting rid of him after, I don't know, maybe one of them earlier games. But this isn't a knee-jerk reaction. If they get rid of him now, it's not a knee-jerk reaction. It's the result of a lot of problems that have built up over 2 or 3 months. And
also with the DT situation, it's all about opinions, and everyone has different opinions. But our thing is, he went after Wenger for years. Our most successful manager, our best manager we've ever had in our club's history. He went for him for the last few years, made some really public insults as well, publicly on that channel, on his own channel, etc. And then suddenly, it's a novice is coming, and he's like, give him a chance, no matter what. He's even throwing phones across the fucking studio, apparently, and literally, give him a chance, still give him a chance. It's like polar opposite to what it should not what it should be. I'm not saying he should have insulted anyone in the first place, but the reaction is like, sure, you'd expect that off.
For me,
The reaction he's given now, you'd expect from Wenger was about, because he had the backlog. He'd done stuff at the club to earn the time to turn things around. Whereas Arteta just walked through the door, and he's a novice, and he hasn't proved anything. Yeah, he won an FA Cup. It's fantastic. Obviously, we love the FA Cup, but it's at the same time, come on.
I can look at it like, say, if you've got a favourite rock star or group, right, that you've liked their albums and you think they're good, and suddenly they release a couple of bad albums, they've got that great back catalogue to go back on, which Wenger had. Whereas if you're a new artist and you release your first album and it's shit, there's no recovering from that. You're never going to build up a fan from that either. You've got to have a good start. You've got to have a good start, and then if you do have a couple of bad albums later on, you can get through that and maybe come up with a better album later on down the line. But if you start off badly, you're never going to be able to get that back. And Wenger had a great back catalogue. And yes, that wasn't enough in the end. And I think we all agreed he needed to go. And there's no doubt about that. But now, when you look at where we are now, in the 2.5 years since Wenger went, clearly there were problems a lot deeper than Wenger. We can clearly see. They've made a load of changes behind the scenes that don't make any sense. And here we are, battling relegation 2.5 years after we were finishing in the top 4. Crazy.
Good point. Good point just made about, like you said, Richard, it's not a knee-jerk reaction, 1 win in 10 or whatever it is, 14 games without a win. That's not knee-jerk. And when you think about it, how many managers would be given that amount of time and patience before questions are asked? The thing is as well, when you're talking about other managers that have been given not as much time as Arteta, they're people that have had a history. For example, Ferguson, when he came down from Scotland, he had a fantastic history. He'd won European Cups. He'd done like magic at Scotland because you had the Rangers and Celtic, and he just blew them apart. So the geezer had something. Klopp, he didn't have the greatest of starts at Liverpool, but he had what he'd done at Borussia Dortmund, was it? Yeah, Dortmund. What he'd done there. I mean, he had pedigree. You knew that he could build. He wasn't just the manager to pick the team and get on with it. He built something at that German club. With his own bare hands, and he had a philosophy, and it worked. And it was obviously going to work with Liverpool. But to start off with, obviously, he had a dodgy squad than what he's got now, and also they got to get used to it. So that is what. But with Arteta, there's no fat on the bone, not at all, and that's the shame. If we saw him do something at another club, and you go, you know what? He's obviously our man because X, Y, Z. We can't say that. We can't say he's our man because he used to wear the red shirt, right? We can't say that. We can't say he's definitely the man because he sat next to Pep. Because look at Man United number 2s. How many of those have been successful? McLaren hadn't. Yeah. Kidd couldn't run his own team. The other geezer who the Dutch guy, I can't remember his name. There's 4 or 5 of them that sat next to. Yeah, sat next to Alex Ferguson and they go, well, this guy, he's got to get his own club. He is different class because he's been next to Ferguson for 3 years, and rightly so. Who would you want to sit next to but Ferguson? But none of them have made it. I think he went to Fulham, one of the number 2s. Went to Fulham for a year or 2. Gone, just gone. So I don't think there's anything we can actually to endear us to Arteta. Was he played for the Arsenal? That's a tick. It's not a great thing. It's just a tick in one little box. What really
is that even a tick? Because it wasn't that great.
It's a little tick. It is not the same as Ben Hoddle coming to Arsenal. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Sentimental there, man. I'll be real. I bet it's a little bit sentimental. It wasn't like George Graham. Do you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't even lie about that.
I agree, but because he played for Arsenal, he gets the club a little bit, doesn't he? He will get the club more than someone.
There's a little bit there, yeah.
Yeah, I get that. But in terms of we should back him because he used to play for Arsenal. What's he done?
No, I'm not saying to back him. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying I can understand when someone who plays for the Arsenal, you want any Arsenal manager to do well, but you want him to do well a little bit more because he played for the Arsenal. Perhaps he gets it, he gets us, and we're saying yeah, and then when reality hits, you're thinking, does it really matter what shirt he wore?
No. And I'll tell you one thing as well, right? And it pains me to say this. It absolutely pains me to say this, right? Imagine if we'd got Mourinho in last year when he was available. Look what he's done there with Spurs. They're going to win the League Cup. I don't think there's any doubt about that. We know it. He wins trophies, that dude. They'll win the League Cup this year, Tottenham now. right? And look what improvements he's made there in a similar amount of time. Because he's a manager, as Melvin said before, he's got that pedigree. And you know that last season they didn't do that well under Mourinho, and everyone was thinking, oh yeah, let's laugh at Tottenham with Mourinho. We dodged the bullet there, right? But look what he's doing with him. It's not going to last because he never does with him. He'll have 2 seasons there. They'll probably win a couple of cups, and then he'll upset everyone and go. But I'm not saying this, I'd have wanted Mourinho, but just look what he's doing in comparison to what Arteta's doing. You know, Arteta's dragging us down, and Mourinho is pulled Tottenham up. And he's done a good job. Then we know it won't last, but they are going to. I'll be amazed if they don't win the League Cup this year for a start off.
But if you look at, I'll say after. No, go finish your point. I'll say after.
No, I was just going to say, you know, you can see that's what Mourinho is going to do because that's what he does. And he could have come to us for 2 years. He could have brought a little bit. That's not what we need, but he would have been a better short-term fix than what we've currently got because this isn't a long-term plan with Arteta. It never could have been. Because he doesn't have that pedigree and experience. It's being shown up now.
I think but the thing is, when you look at Jose, it's like he has that background. He's got that CV. We know what to expect with Jose and the negatives with Jose. However, when you look at the actual break that he had enough time to sit down and reevaluate everything he's done from up to the sacking of Manchester United before even getting hired to Tottenham. He had enough time to reevaluate his tactics, see how the game works, and try and mend something different. He went into Tottenham and said, listen, you lot need to stop being so nice, which is what we need. We need something like that. We need a manager to come in and slap all these players in the face and say, listen, you lot are too nice. Arsene Wenger made you lot too soft. Forget all that. I want people out there that's going to get in and smash into players and say, no, we're winning today. Forget a draw. We want the 3 points. This is the problem. Our team has been spineless for so many years. Tottenham, listen, when I was growing up, Tottenham weren't even my rivals to me. It was Chelsea, Manchester United and that. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, as the years gone by, Tottenham have got better and better. And then it's like, what? And then we're going back. But the point, going back to Jose, is the fact that he's the type of manager we needed. That was the bottom line. But the only problem is the people upstairs, the recruitment. Well, they're gonna exactly. He's another one. But the problem is, it's the people above him. Are they gonna back him sufficiently and say, "You're right. We're gonna listen to you"? Look how much Levy is listening to Jose. Why did he never do that for Poch? Poch got him in the Champions League final. Do you know what I mean? Poch got them to a certain level where it's like, okay, Tottenham need to get to a next level in terms of challenge for a league title, get an FA Cup, get a League Cup, get something. For me, I can see Tottenham winning a trophy this season, whether it's a League Cup, FA Cup. Hopefully, it's not a Europa League, but let's look at our chances. I don't think we're going to survive in that tournament for much longer. But you know, you can see there was a plan there. With us, we're just twiddling our thumbs and hoping for something to happen and hoping for miracles. And you know, this is the bottom line. The reality is, we need to be a club that's ruthless, but we can't be ruthless if there's people in this club that do not care. That is the bottom line. And I feel we really missed the boat, and I feel all of us did this year. Not every single Arsenal, but I feel a lot of us missed the boat. Was when we got Wenger out, we didn't put enough pressure on the owners. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think we put enough pressure because once Wenger out, everything started to simmer down. Oh, we got Emery now. It's okay now. It's okay now. No. Why is it? Because Emery just come out of nowhere like that. We were getting linked. Our could have been then and there, right? We'll remember. It could have happened a lot sooner. And to be honest, I'd rather Arteta come in, already happened and gone, if that was going to be the case. But personally, I wanted a manager with experience. We cannot be taking chances with novices at this football club when we've been in dire straits from when we even moved to the Emirates in the first place. Do you know what I'm saying? Wenger should have went years ago, before maybe even before the FA Cup against Hull, maybe before that. Do you know what I mean? I started watching Arsenal before that for a little while. Do you know what I mean? That cup run when we won it made me even start to watch again. That's how bad it was. So it's a lot right now that we have to look at, and we kind of have to look at ourselves and say, did we really do enough to put pressure on the board to either want them out? Because now we're in a lockdown, and how the hell are we going to try force them to sell, or even that force them to do better? This is my
with all the will in the world, and as passionate as Arsenal fans are, we have got no say in who manages Arsenal. If you think they're going to listen to us, some geezer 20,000 miles away in America is going to be bothered to what we think with our hearts and our brains. Nothing to do with money. It's just our hearts and our brains. You think they're going to listen to us? Not a hope in hell. Because they don't have to. They're completely owned by one man. He can do what he likes, when he likes, and how he likes. And he will decide who the manager is, or get people to decide for him who the manager is. We have got no say whatsoever. And if and when we get back to slightly better ways and the grounds might be full, if you don't want your ticket, there's a geezer behind you who wants it, who comes from another country, and instead of them going to the theatre, they're going, I'm not going to the theatre, I've actually gone to watch Arsenal. Oh, that's brilliant. In London, oh, that's fantastic. What was the score? I don't know, but a really good time. And that is where we are at the moment, I'm afraid to say. We've got no say. You can scream. I want to scream. Honestly, I'm passionate about the Arsenal. I want to scream. We can all scream, but no one's going to listen because we are, to a degree, irrelevant. Sorry to say this. I hope I don't insult anybody, but we all are.
Well, we've seen since fans haven't been in the ground that no one really cares. Not really. They pretend they do, and they say that they do, but they don't really. They don't care if all the games are on telly because they're still getting their money coming in. They're not bothered, particularly if we're in the ground. In fact, it probably makes it easier for them because they haven't got to put the staff on at the ground. They haven't got to listen to us booing and voicing an opinion when we disagree with their decisions that they're making. So they don't really care. We are irrelevant. I totally agree with that. We are completely irrelevant, and we shouldn't be because without us, football's nothing, and they need to realise that very, very quickly. Everybody in football needs to realise how important fans are. Without fans, football's nothing. And you've seen what difference it's made to the games that's been played over the last 8 or 9 months with hardly any fans in or no fans at all. You can see what massive difference fans make. And I'm surprised that this hasn't maybe put alarm bells ringing in football, the people that are running football in general, not individual clubs, but to say, look how important it is. Look what a poor product it is without any fans in the stadiums. And it's not the same at all, is it? And it's nowhere near the platform that they want it to be for promotions and for advertising and everything else that goes along with it. And it isn't. You know, someone put a comment earlier about they're worried about January's fixtures. I'm worried about December's fixtures still. We've still got 2 left. Let alone January.
Jesus. Forget that. The rest of the season, mate.
Yeah. I think this next comment on the screen does concern me a bit about I don't know this person obviously is a younger generation or whatever, or an older generation, but he says we are weak, we have to accept it and support Arteta. Why do we have to accept that we've got a weak mentality at our club?
Surely the weak mentality comes from the mindset the manager puts into the players. Surely it does. I can't see how you can't put some responsibility on Arteta. If we've got a weak mentality, the manager's responsible for that to a certain degree. Definitely. He can change that by kicking the shit out of them in training and making them make sure that he said all these non-negotiables. Where are they? Where have they gone? Where are these non-negotiables now? Because over the last, 12, 15 games, what are they? Can somebody tell me what these non-negotiables are? Because I haven't seen.
Richard,
you know what?
There's 4 different tiers of non-negotiables. 4 different tiers. All depends who you are as a player. All different tiers.
Top tier.
Ending tiers. I know that.
Yeah. Well. Is it tears of joy that we survived in the Prem or tears of disappointment?
I'm not sure. I think that you can't tell me the manager's not responsible for the mentality of his team. And I don't care that some of these players have been there under other managers. Everybody's had different managers apart from the young guys, maybe. But at the end of the day, the team should play in the manager. Look at Jurgen Klopp as an example. Liverpool play in his personality that rubs off on his team. You can see Pep Guardiola, the team playing Pep Guardiola's personality. And our team are clearly playing in Arteta's personality, which means Arteta is...
Mourinho as well, Richard. Yeah. Spurs with Mourinho, they play in his personality.
Yeah. Because these men are stamping their authority, stamping their personality on their team. And if Arteta's done that, then this is all we're going to get because this is Arteta's personality.
I've mentioned it a few times. Sorry, I mentioned it a few times since obviously he was appointed. But I always go back to George Graham when he got given the job from when he was at Millwall coming to Arsenal. We were at an all-time we were at an all-time low back then. He came in himself and changed the mentality from the day one and from the ground up. And not
he got rid of the players who wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
he got rid of Woodcock, Marinate.
Not once did he back down, unless he said, anyone, he gave him a chance. He all gave 6 weeks, buckle down, see who's good enough, and if they want to go to it, if it needs direction or not. If they don't come to him, he'll get them out the door and all that. He stuck by it all the way through his entire tenure at the club.
And the funny thing was, the parallels today to when Graham came in, Ryan, who did he get rid of? The experienced players.
The experienced players, the Ricks, Charlie Nicholas,
Woodcock, Mariner, Williams, and all that crew. He got rid of all of them. He even got rid of Anderson, who was a terrific right back.
Yeah. And what did he go and do?
And he brought in the people, the kids, and he brought in people that were hungry, like the Winterbirds and Dixon of this world.
I've watched it a few times. I was watching it the other day, the 89 film, and he said, in terms of recruitment, you'd look through the local papers or certain teams and throughout the whole country and all that, and see what the manager was rating this, that, and the other. And he didn't want the big names. He wanted, as he said, the young, hungry, gifted players that wanted to go to that next level and achieve, be the best of the best, basically, and give their all. That's all he wanted. But he said that from day one again. But also, not only are you recruiting the young players from other clubs like Steve Bold, Lee Dixon, and Winterburn, David Seaman in 1990 as well from QPR and things like that.
He was well known in Seaman, though, in all fairness.
But you weren't afraid to go to the lower clubs. You weren't afraid to go to the lower clubs to go.
No. With Seaman, I remember we played QPR in the Cup at Highbury, and I think we drew 0-0. He was out. What was he like, Richard? How good was Seaman?
I know,
he was outrageous. He was outrageous. I'm sorry. He was just totally outrageous. And we signed him the next season.
And
even then, we were shouting for John Lucas to stay and not get rid of John.
Yeah.
He's happened to be the best goalkeeper ever.
But also, George Graham, months of doing that, he dipped into the academy. We had some amazing. He saw some amazing academy players. He dipped in and integrated them into the first few years, and they were a massive part of what happened in '89 and obviously going forward for the next few years. And it's like we've got that history of doing things like that and not relying on the experience from George Graham when he came in. And Arteta's come and say he's got that mentality, but he doesn't follow it through. He hasn't followed it through. He's sort of said it and then backed down. The players just lost respect to him.
Great example, because that Arsenal team, that some of the players were already at the club before and some of them weren't, but that team played in George Graham's. They were George Graham's team. They became George Graham's team. He moulded them into his team, and that's what Arteta should have been doing. And if that's what he's done, if this is Arteta's team, then why are we backing him? Because he clearly hasn't got a clue. If he hasn't got his personality across in a year, he's never going to. And either way, he's not the right man. Either what yardstick you want to use, he's not the right man, because he would have done it by now.
We've got a question here as well from Taib, touching on, because obviously Tuchel's been sacked this morning from PSG, and he's saying, do you guys reckon Tuchel would be a good appointment? Me, personally, no. Hell fucking no.
What reason? For what reason?
I mean,
no, just because...
I don't know much about him, to be honest with you. I know his names, I've seen some of his teams, but I haven't studied him. I don't know.
Dortmund, he took over from Klopp. He didn't really do all that. He got sacked there. He's gone to PSG, and the last person we got from PSG did a better job than what he's done. I know he got to the Champions League final, but it was over. The circumstances have changed for him to get there. And even then, since then, they're third in the league, and I think they're struggling in the league on this season and things like that. They're not and he's falling out with the big name players, or he's not even trusting the youth. He's dropping youth players. He's just it doesn't inspire me like a Allegri or Rafa Benitez or someone of that ilk would. And I think he's too soft. He's a bit petty-welly as well. As I said, we need a manager of Allegri or Benitez type that's distant, that doesn't want to be your best friend, that just wants to be the fucking manager. That's it, and manage you as a player and coach you as a player, to get you back to a level where you should be, and get the club back to a level and competing. He's just a bit too wishy-washy with me.
When you talk about Benitez, I remember seeing Sky Sports one night. I don't know what game was on. Benitez was the guest. He was standing up at the table. You know when they sometimes stand up by a table?
Yeah, and
Arsenal were managerless, right? And I reckon I watched that. I watched him talk about the game. It might have been an Arsenal game. I can't even remember. And it was like he was putting his name forward. I was thinking to myself, "You want this job?"
I remember
Do you remember
that,
Richard?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought this guy wants it, and I don't mind this guy. He's got it, isn't he? I mean, Benitez, you know. And then all of a sudden, nothing happened. But I honestly thought he was saying, "Come and get me." I honestly thought that.
Yeah.
Oh God.
You know what? I think Jose did the same thing when we looked at the North London derby, the 2-2. He pretty much did the same thing.
Yeah, come and get me. Yeah.
All these managers were doing it, but we just didn't bother.
Well, it's like I don't know. And also with Benitez, I don't know if they really did a good approach him or not, but it was just like because they fucked up massively with the long ball, keep going over they fucked up the way they went about that and saying he had no chance whatsoever, so the players didn't really bother basically. So the form basically continued under Lundberg, and he didn't get the respect he deserved from the players and the performances he deserved. In the meantime, it's like the Allegri wanted the job. He said, "Oh yeah, I want fine. We can agree something, but I don't want to come in properly until the summer because I want a whole pre-season. I don't want to come in halfway through because it's harder for him to put his stamp on things and get his philosophy across." And I think that was all we agreed, and because things were so dire and it continued under Umberg at first, when we did up 2 or 3 games, they panicked and went, "Oh fuck, we can't do this." So they pulled out of that and then went for the cheap option of what is, as we saw, Mikel Arteta. I said at the time, before going on the experience, I talked to my brother and I'm like, they're not serious, are they? It just screamed cheap and cheerful to me. There's no disrespect, but it is. The guy had no experience, as we've all touched on.
So if that's the case, then right, what we're not going to get now. If we were to get rid of Arteta, we're not going to then get one of these big name managers like unless
Allegri's like changes his philosophy, his mind now, and goes, "Yeah, I'll come now and not in the summer." Then we won't get Allegri, and that's the frustrating thing.
You've got to think any top manager, even ones at the moment haven't got a job. Even Tuchel, right, who's managed at top clubs, right? They're not going to come to Arsenal if we're not going to invest in that manager. We've got to, because we probably didn't need to do that, and we're not going to get a manager like a top manager. Pochettino, mate. Pochettino's the only one you can think of because he wasn't given any money at Tottenham, really, was he? So he could probably think he could come to Arsenal, but the problem with Pochettino is going to be because of where he's come from. He's only going to be given the opportunity to lose 5 games, and then that's it. All the fans will want him out. The same that George Graham, he was manager of Tottenham. You know, he could have been probably successful at Tottenham. He won him the League Cup, and he had that. But because he was always associated with Arsenal, Tottenham couldn't accept him. And I think if we had Pochettino, our fan base, if we get knocked out of the Europa League, or if we lose 3 or 4 games, that'll be it. The fans will be on it.
The agent, whatever the reason all that gets, Chelsea agent and all
Agent
that.
Poch. Yeah, Agent Poch.
Yeah.
I think he'll be given enough opportunity to the fans to build anything. Because the first sign of trouble, the first sign of things not going right, the first couple of defeats, that'll be it. He'll be out. If we lose to Tottenham, then that's it. That'll be it. Everyone will be after his head, and it'll be so. As much as I think he could do a good job for the club, I don't think it would work with Pochettino. I just really don't, because our fan base accepts it. I don't think, and that's unfortunately the situation that we're in. It was the same with Mourinho. I don't think our fan base would have accepted Mourinho either
because of the backlash over the Mourinho and Wenger and all that.
Yeah, because of his you know.
No, but it's part of our fan base. It's part of our fan base that don't. It's just like they're hired. They're hired to do a job. Just back them. I mean, as I've always said from day one. As I've always said from day one, I came in, even though I had these gripes about his inexperience and this, that, and the other, I said, okay, there's nothing I can do now. They've hired him. I'll allow him the chance to prove me wrong. And it did look at one point it was going to go that way, but then it's quickly just gone the other way. The fear that I had now come to reality, and like we are as it stands. And the longer this goes on, and the board don't act, we are going to be really in a relegation scrap. We could finish 17th by the skin of our teeth the way things are going.
I've never seen an Arsenal team in all the years I've been watching them to fall off a cliff so quickly as this mob.
No, I haven't. It's actually, like I said before, it's almost like it's not real because it doesn't feel real because it's not even that long ago we were in the Europa League final, we were challenging for the top 4, and even in spells last season, you know, we had a chance of finishing in the top 4, didn't we? You know, at certain points of the season, we had an opportunity to finish top 4. We wasn't that far away. 2 or 3 wins would have maybe done it. And suddenly now, it has changed so quickly. And I've never known it either. Usually you can see signs coming and you think, yeah, you know, over 2 or 3 seasons, you start dropping down a little bit like we did after maybe the 71 double. You'll probably remember that a couple. We started dropping in relegation trouble. But this has just come almost out of nowhere. And yes, we've had issues behind the scenes. We know we've got a series of players in the squad who aren't good enough. But still, with these players in the squad, we still finished in the top 4 with a lot of these players in the squad, or we were challenging in the top 4. We were winning the FA Cup. We were getting to European finals and stuff like that. So, you know, this has happened. It has happened quickly, and it's almost taken us all. Maybe it's taken the club by surprise a little bit as well. Maybe that's why they still come to terms with it themselves. Maybe a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah,
but it's a parallel. I've got to give you a parallel. Is Mourinho at Chelsea when they won the league? Chelsea under him, and they had that horrible with the doctor, the physio on the touchline. Right, and all of a sudden, Chelsea from being champions looking like relegation fodder. Not as bad as we are, but they looked completely different side. And I think something's gone on somewhere that we don't know about. There's certain effects we can probably put it to, but there's definitely something. It's not just the players have all got injured or for something's up here has gone with the players. I don't know what it is. It's definitely been a change. A big sea change.
I think there have been certain components like the Martinez sale, the way that's coming about out of nowhere. As well, that still kicked off that's probably kicked off as the Ozil, Guendouzi being loaned out and all that monarchy. Then the treatment of Saliba and things like that. I mean, obviously, it was brought in the FA Cup final as part of the celebration, things like that, and then suddenly, fast forward a month and a half. Since that month and a half later, since he's been ostracised and sort of kept away from the squad, never in the match day squad. I mean, the excuse as well for that as well on midweek because he was asked about it. Oh, we can't pick him because he's not in the Premier League squad. And the journalist went on to done their research and said, no, he could he plays in the under 23 Premier League, their equivalent of Premier League under 23 level. He could have been picked. It's all them little things. But I think the first point was the Martinez still. The way it just came out of nowhere.
I couldn't believe it when they were going.
He was a massive part of our success at the end of the season in the FA Cup. If it weren't for him, there was no way God's green earth we're getting to a final, let alone winning it.
There's so many goals this year I can think of, and I might be say I'm having a go at Leno. Perhaps I am. All right, perhaps I am. Where I don't think Martinez would have let in the goal. 1-0 up away to Liverpool. A minute later they attack and he palms out a ball, Leno, right at someone's foot. You know Martinez ain't doing that. But the goal the other day, the winner, was it Everton? They beat us with a header, the goal from the corner, a minute before half time. Yeah. Everyone says, oh, he wasn't marked and Pepe should have got. I agree. Pepe was out of order. Perhaps we shouldn't have had Pepe trying to mark.
Pepe should have been marked.
Right. But when the ball got headed, I don't think the header was that good. I think the goalie was under the ball and should have done better with it. I think that if Martinez was there, he would have saved it. You know what I mean? And I said it. I mean, Ryan, you know my thoughts. Before he got sold, you knew what I was thinking. When the news came out, going, please don't let this happen. This can't be right.
Yeah,
you've got to give He's our number one goalie. He's got the jersey. He's there on merit. You know, never won one game did I think, you know what, I wish Leno was playing today. Never, ever, ever. And you know that when a cross comes over, he commands the area. The defence, he had a presence about him, the goalkeeper. Neither two goalies we've got now got a presence about them. Yeah. And it's not as if we bought Leno last season, didn't know what we had. When we knew what Leno could do, and we know what Leno can't do. And you can see this Martinez could do everything up and above what Leno could do. So I just couldn't understand it. And if it meant us getting 5 million less for Leno than we can for Martinez, so be it. Because in the long run, it's going to cost us a lot more than it has done.
Go
The
on,
only thing
Ryan,
I disagree with that, Melvin, is I do think that Renarson's got presence about him, like Santa Claus. He just gives them out.
yeah, go on, Ryan. Sorry,
Alright.
let's
What I would say, like with Arteta, there's been so many red flags. Like, I don't think a lot of us kind of really thought about it. I mean, when he came in, he told Xhaka, "I want you to stay." That was probably one of the biggest red flags I've
Yeah.
seen. That Ainsley make the nose. Listen, if you're not going to use him, you might as well just sell him. It's as simple as that. But no, we kept him, and then Bellerin always plays. So that's another red flag. Martinez for me was probably the biggest red flag because there's one, like Melvin just touched on, the one thing for me that Martinez does that Leno cannot do is command the defense. That is as simple as that. When Martinez was in the goal, everyone was like, do you know what I mean? Like the manager should be in, like the manager's in goal. Martinez told them where they are, where they need to be. I mean, I was worried when we played City in the FA Cup semi-final. Martinez bossed that whole defense and told them where they needed to be. Mustafi looked decent. Martinez told him what to do. He told Luiz what to do. Luiz has won more than everybody in that whole fucking squad. Excuse my language. And yet, Martinez is bossing them about, telling them what to do. Leadership. We moaned about leadership. Martinez had it there. And yet,
Ryan?
also, like, I'll quickly wrap this up.
Oh, sorry, carry on.
When you look at the Europa League, yeah, before he went on loan to Reading, if you remember in Emery's first season, he was doing a fantastic job in the group stages. We didn't even concede a goal until he went on loan. So all the attributes were there. Reading fans wanted to sign him. We said, no, we're taking him back. And then it took Leno to get injured. And let's be honest, we've seen Leno make a few mistakes and we kind of swept them under the rug. Some of us did. I didn't really. I was like, don't know about this keeper really. But still, the proof was in the pudding. Martinez. And look, when Martinez came back to the Emirates, what did he have to do? Nothing.
Nope.
So, I mean, come on, man. That's what I want to say about it.
Can I just add on to what you've said? I'm not in favour of this, but in the current Arsenal squad, I wouldn't have even minded him as being our captain. He's got that about him.
Thank you. I wouldn't have minded that either. Wouldn't have minded that either. He's been here the longest next to Bellerin.
That's nothing to do with it. I think his presence, his attitude, he gets it. He gets it, Martinez.
Stephen in the chat says Martinez most clean sheets in the league. That says it all. He's might be a lesser club than what we are apparently.
And our defense is rubbish. Barring the ones that barring Tierney and Gabriel, our defense is trash. And he's still got us.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We still won an FA Cup trophy. We still won in the Shield. So yeah man. I mean,
this is bad. Obviously, Hams in the chat saying Arsenal versus Chelsea, relegation versus so-called title contenders. Arsenal look low in confidence. Chelsea won last game, so they go into the game a bit more motivated. But Arsenal would want to step up. Well, this is the thing. This is we can talk about all night. The motivation, the fight that you'd get from any other club. They haven't got that. These players, it seems, they're sort of just down tools and gone, okay, whatever. We're losing, so we might not want to. We conceded the goal first. Oh, we might as well not bother. Most of the games, apart from Southampton and then Martinelli the other night, every time we see the goal, that's it. The game's over. The players don't go right. Strap in. We're going to literally. This is the thing under Wenger. We all criticise Wenger here now and then throughout his time, but whenever we went 1-0 down at home or whatever, you knew that them players on that pitch, no matter who they were, would literally set up fucking company in the opponent's half for the rest of the match, getting them to try to get back into the game. Even when they got back into the game, they'd then go into the kill. And even there's games like there was 1-0 or 1-0 or whatever, and still we needed 3 points. But at the last 15, 20 minutes, we'd up the ante. We'd like camping there. We'd fucking turn the pressure up more, make them work for it. Basically, we don't even make them work for it now. There's just okay, scored a goal, fantastic. We're done. Can we go home now? It's a mentality thing. These are the things that Arteta from day one said he would change at the club that he saw was wrong and this, that, and the other. And he looks like he was that start off. It looks like he was going that way, but he's like Emery with certain things. Suddenly, out of nowhere, just changed and went back on everything he'd done in the process in the first place, and then we find ourselves in this situation again. And I think the only way we can stop this rot and this rut constantly happening every time we bring someone in as a manager is bringing someone over an Allegri, Benitez type manager, if not them themselves, that has that fucking bastard mentality of a George Graham-esque mentality of, well, you got a few weeks, prove yourselves, otherwise you're out the door. Until that happens, this will constantly happen time and time and again. Again, this doesn't help go into the board. Then the board have to then back that manager as well at the same time and go, yeah, okay, we agree with you. This is what we have to do. But until that happens, until we get that one man in that does that, has that mindset of George Graham, this ain't gonna change. We're gonna constantly this time next year they hire another yes man. We're gonna be here again going, all right then, who's next for the job?
Do you know what? I'll add on to that. When you got guys that have consistently let us down in these teams like our Xhakas, our Bellerins. I'm looking at Rob Holding right now as well. We've been kind of looking at Rob Holding for like a season a little bit now, in terms of like letting us down and that, because he's not consistent. Let's be honest. You know, the mainly Bellerin and Xhaka, right? And I know that here the whole scapegoating business. I don't believe in that crap because they've been letting us down for years. As the manager, when you coming in from this job, for me, I feel like you should know who you don't want and who you do want. And I think somehow these two players still are in this squad after letting Wenger down, they let Emery down, they're letting Arteta down. And Arteta, like I said, he saved Xhaka for some weird reason. I don't know. If he said Xhaka, you could go in the summer, guaranteed, to Hertha Berlin. If that was the case, then it'd been all right. At least Xhaka's definitely going to go. But no, that didn't happen. AZ Maitland-Niles played well at the end of the back end of last season, right? In some games, still not good enough, but he played well in that right back role, role. But Bellerin had an offer on the table. It didn't go anywhere. So until those two, as well as a few more like Richard named earlier, go, we're not doing nothing. I don't see anything happening. You signed Cedric for 4 years. He hardly gets a game. What's that about? I'm not exactly a big fan when we signed Cedric. I thought, well, what's the point? AZ's playing there now. I get Bellerin needs to go, but I don't really trust the board to sell Bellerin. I don't get it. They didn't do it. So it's just a lot of, someone said to me the other day, we still got Wenger players. We've got a few Emery players. We've got Ralph Sanelli players, as well as Arteta players, all mixed into one. So many ideas, so many people's players in this squad mismanaged. And I feel like some of the players don't even want certain players in this squad anymore. And they're pissed off at the manager for keep picking the same players that they do not want to play with each other. I know Aubameyang and Xhaka had problems prior to Arsenal going back into Germany. And it looks all rosy-posy and that, but really, we know that's not true. No one likes to play with Xhaka. Xhaka's too hot-headed. He does the same mistakes, time in, time out, has a row, gets sent off for some dumb decision, but yeah, it's okay for him to come back into the squad. Like I said, when Emery made him captain, I said, Emery, for me, that was the writing on the wall for Emery to get sacked. You do not do that, right? You do not do that. And then what happened? We saw what happened at Palace. And then we saw something a little bit similar with the Burnley. Imagine the fans were there at the Burnley game. Just imagine the deja vu would have been immense. But again, Xhaka still gets saved. Pepe gets thrown under the bus. Xhaka don't get. Do you know what I mean? It's honestly, this is for me. That's why I said Arteta's had so many red flags. Why are you consistently playing Xhaka? He is probably the worst player in this squad, next to Willian. Okay, I forgot about Willian as well. He's another one. Why is he still playing? I think there's actually something in his contract that says he needs to start a certain amount of games.
I don't think I'm not a fan of Willian. but he's not been our worst player by a long way. He might, he's been disappointing. What we expected, but he gets a lot of stick, I think, and I think some of it could be just turned a little bit on some other players, really. And when you talk about Xhaka, the big one, I don't know if we've mentioned it, is the Brighton game when we could have beaten them 1-0, and he decided to pull the geezer down in the box only when he got into the box. And that for me is like, and to go back to Arteta, what's disappointing, he should know by now, and I might have repeated myself, he should know by now the players he can trust and the players he can't trust. It doesn't seem to me that he's learned about any of them.
He's trusting his friends. To me, it looks like he's trusting his friends. This is why a lot of us say he's got his favourites, like Xhaka, Bellerin, Holding. Willian is definitely in that bracket because it was his signing. Because when Willian's playing poor, he don't drop him, but he'll take Pepe off. And to be honest, I'm not really a fan of Pepe anyways. I've seen enough of Pepe for me, if I'm honest. But I mean, Pepe don't get 90 minutes. He never gets 90 minutes. And it's kind of concerning. It kind of says this guy does not get trusted by the manager, but Pepe does more than Willian. And yet, Pepe doesn't even do all that. He annoys me because he's always want to do skill, this, that, and the third. The Everton game, how many passes did Willian get? And he looked like, oh God, looked like he was an amateur. No runs, the balls to him. He just noticed that it just got played to him. To me, it feels like Willian doesn't even want to be there. Do you know what I'm saying?
I said to you, Ryan, didn't I?
What's that?
I said to you, Ryan, in the watch along we had with Everton, how's Willian still on the pitch?
Yeah.
That was a very poor game he had.
Yeah. We've got a series of form as well. We've got another question from Steve in the chat saying, are you guys worried about Gabriel's form after his last two matches, Man City obviously recently, and then before that when he got the red card? And that's concerning that obviously he started off so well and now suddenly he's like the disease, if you will, pardon the pun, obviously, it's seeking into him now.
He's giving too much responsibility. A 22-year-old shouldn't be have to play with 8 different centre halves every week. He turns up, and with poor centre halves, and with a poor right back. I've seen him cover the right back in certain games. That shouldn't have to happen. So at some stage, he's got to come down to their level, which is a shame.
Even Dixon saying we don't even have Uber's form from that saved us last season. Exactly, we've touched on that earlier on in the show as well. And this sort of leads on to obviously wrap things up soon, but we'll get your score predictions for Saturday. Obviously, I'm going to start with Melvin first. What your score prediction for Saturday? Chelsea at home.
Chelsea at home. If he picks Richard's team, which I saw you pick today, Richard, the team you wanted to pick. If he picks that team, and instead of having Xhaka, I'm not saying he will play. If it's not going to happen, Partey plays. I fancy we might beat him, but that ain't going to happen. So if he picks similar to the team you picked, I think we might nick a draw one, a bit like last season. No, we got beat last season. Like last season, we played very well. Got beat 2-1.
At the bridge.
And the bridge. Yeah, I think we draw. If he picks the team that I'm worried he might pick, and then I think we get beat.
That's not true, right?
I think at home game. We haven't lost a home game on Boxing Day. I think that was what he was meant to say. But yeah, whoever typed it up didn't put that in. But yeah, we haven't lost a home game on Boxing Day since '87. Obviously, we have lost recently on Boxing Day at Southampton a couple of years ago. Actually got battered in that game. Bloody hell. As the meme says.
Was it the 4-0, was it?
Yeah, we got absolutely obliterated.
Was that when the right back scored that amazing goal?
Yeah.
And the goal he had a cigarette.
Jack was in goal, done,
Oh, God.
That was actually the season as well. That's 15-16 season.
We were top of the league. We were top of the league at Christmas, and then we lost 4 on Boxing Day at Southampton, and then it went downhill after that.
Typical when we go top.
That was the year Leicester won the league, actually. That was the season.
Yeah, 15-16 season, yeah. But, because we just come off also, just before that game, we played Man City at home and beat them 2-1.
Right, yeah, we did.
Pellegrini and literally was like, oh, yes, this is going to be our year. We went into that game as well. Southampton were in piss poor form as well. So I'm thinking, yes. Then Day came along. We put our bets on.
Who was their right back who scored that amazing goal to make it 1-0?
it Martina?
I think he gave up football after that game because he realised he can never do that again.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Richard, what about yourself? Score prediction for Saturday?
I did say on my preview video that I released earlier today, I said what Melvin said, 1-1. But that was being extremely optimistic, I've got to be honest. If it's a similar team that's been playing in the last few Premier League games, then I would expect we'll lose. If Arteta is brave and makes some changes, play some of the younger players, maybe switches things around a little bit, then we might have a chance of getting a draw. But I want to be optimistic. I'm going to say 1-1, but I'm not confident that it's going to be 1-1. I'm going to try and be optimistic, but I'll take 1-1. We need to win ideally, but I just don't think
I'll take 1-1.
Yeah, I'll definitely take 1-1. So I'll go with that.
Ryan, what yourself? I took
You don't be on my negative scoreline. Yeah, true. Honestly, guys, and I'm looking back at the last results, even throwing in the City result. I know that a lot of those players are probably not going to play. Maybe some of them, like Ceballos and that. But I mean, the morale was so low. I can't see a win. My heart says a draw, and that's probably what 2-2 at best. But I could see us getting thumped because, listen, you know, Arsenal, we're as they say, the gift that keeps on giving, man. And you know, when I look at Chelsea players that don't really do well, it's always us. It's always us. Chelsea, City, anyone who don't play well, we'll give them confidence. Remember, Sheffield United never scored a goal at a certain point. We gave them that goal.
Yeah, we gave them that first goal of the season.
You know what I mean?
He scored 2. He hung on.
For me, scoreline, I hate to say it, I think it's going to be a 3-0. Probably going to get whitewashed.
Arsenal, that's a good, that's great. I'm loving that.
3-0 Chelsea.
Well, Arsenal for Edu, yeah, that's progress.
Yeah,
oh dear, no, I'm like, I mean, my heart's saying 1-1. But my head is literally screaming we're going to get thumped because we're like the Santa Claus. Oh, it's time of the season, but we're the Santa Claus of fucking Premier League or football in general. And Kai Havertz, who's struggled this season in the league, you know what's going to happen then. If that's the case. He's going to score a goal at least. Werner's been shit, so he'll score then. We are the gift that we do, like, no matter what time of year, Christmas or not, we give out presents, and it's ironically the day after Christmas we're going to give a fucking couple of presents to the fucking shittest players, or outside of Arsenal this season at new signing as well. Like as I said, Werner will score a goal, at least a goal. Havertz will probably score and be involved in all 3 goals.
Pulisic, he's going to want revenge.
Oh yeah, he's
going to want revenge.
Well, in that case, it's going to be
somehow. Oh god. It can really get bad. I'm not even fucking around. It can really get bad.
Oh, but just on that, if obviously we lose 2, even 1-0, 2-1, even if it's close defeat or anything, that is this the final nail in the coffin for him? If we don't get a result, or do you think
my nails are corroding?
I don't know how much longer we can, honestly. Without some change in the way we're playing, without some change in results, that he can't have much longer. He can't. It's not possible. As much as I've always wanted Arteta to succeed, right? Because I like the guy, and I do. Yeah, Giroud to score 2. Yeah, that probably was.
Forgot about that. He can injure Leno, then it's worse.
Oh fucking, we're fucked.
I wanted Arteta to succeed desperately, but I feel as though it's too late now. I don't feel as though he's going to be able to turn this around. And I think these next 3 games over Christmas, I think if we don't win any of them, with the 2 big away games that we've got, which are actually relegation 6-pointers away at Brighton and West Brom, which I never thought I'd say, but that's what they are. And if we don't win either of these next 3 games, then I'll be amazed if he's still in the job for the FA Cup third round. But if we do pull out a win or two, if we win those 2 away games, our away form is slightly better. If we do pull out an away win, maybe if we get a win and a draw at them 2 games, it's just going to prolong it for me. And he'll stay in the job a bit longer, won't he? But we need the points, so we can't say, well, let's hope we don't get him until he goes, because we need the points. I want us to win every game. But if we don't win any of these next 3 games, I think that's it for him. I think it's got to be it. I don't see how we can carry on.
If Wenger can keep it for 10 years plus, then he can definitely keep it for the next few months. That's how I'm looking at it now. And that's
but Wenger had he had form, he had history, he had stuff behind him in the bank. Whereas I'll take one in the FA Cup a few months.
Look how long that trophy drought was.
The league under Wenger.
True, of course. But we needed improving, and we were on a massive trophy drought. I mean, any of those years there, and then the shocking games that we've had with the United 8-2 and the Chelsea 6-0 and all that. I mean, he could have got sacked then, but he didn't. I mean, yes, I know the history and that. Don't get me wrong. I'm always grateful for that, for my childhood, but you have to be real. You should have went a lot earlier, but even at the time, I don't know, man.
At the time, with that 8-2 defeat, like you said, the 6-0 against Chelsea, and how many times we got hammered at Liverpool, right? At the time, we looked at that and thought, obviously something needs to change, and I think it did. But with hindsight now, when you look at how quickly things have disintegrated since Wenger's gone, that's an issue, isn't it? And now I would rather be losing 8-2 at Man United and finishing 4th than constantly losing 1-0 every week, playing absolutely shit football and looking like we're not going to improve and sitting just above the relegation zone. I would take an 8-2 defeat against Man United if it meant finishing 4th. In fact, we finished 3rd that season. I'll take that all day long over this bullshit.
No, I agree with what you're saying.
When was the last game that you enjoyed, apart from maybe a couple of Europa League games? When was the last game you actually enjoyed watching Arsenal play? When? Well, I think mine was probably Man United on New Year's Day.
Man United it was, wasn't it? Man United, the last league game I enjoyed.
New Year's Day, is that the one?
New Year's Day,
yeah, probably. Yeah.
It wasn't a great game.
I enjoyed it more than the others.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Right? I'm trying to think of the last actual game that we could watch and actually enjoy the football that we watched. Probably for me, it was Man United at home on January the 1st when we beat him 2-0. That was a decent game.
That was a good game. Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
I can't remember a game I really enjoyed watching play. The football's been negative. It's boring. We're losing. And even some of the games that we've won, we've not played particularly well, have we? Certainly not this.
We should have. Even the West Ham game, that game for me, I was in the pub with my mate at that time. We should have lost that. We had no right to win that game. We should have lost that game. Eddie Nketiah. That's what I'm saying. Eddie Nketiah didn't come on, mate. I'm telling you now. Probably they would have scored eventually because they had chance after chance after chance after chance. It's ridiculous. So I don't know, man. There's so many games, and the Man United game. I mean, yeah, it was great. I was happy because we finally won at that ground, regardless of how it was. But when the night you go to bed, you wake up, you look at the game, you think, do you know how many chances we could have actually buried them in the first half if we were actually clinical enough? We could have been 3-0 up in the first half. It's that bad. So for me, I think when I look back, it just kind of feels like the same way I look at the FA Cup victory. I think I said it earlier. If Pulisic never got injured, if Kovacic never got sent off, I don't know. I don't think we'd have won that. I hate saying it now, but when you actually look back in certain performances, and we got away with it. I don't know. It just shows that the team had the spring in their back for a while. There was a time limit on them.
Even the back end of last season. Even the back end of last season, apart from a couple of those cup games and maybe the Liverpool game at home, we didn't even play that well against Liverpool at home. But at least we showed a little bit of solidarity and defensive structure. We haven't really played well over there in the whole year that we've been there, have we? We've not really played that well overall. We've had the odd decent performance here in the game. the Europa League game that Arteta was in charge of was a total disaster. That game at home, he got all that
messed
wrong.
up big time.
And
That was Leno, mate. That was Leno.
Oh yeah, it was. But you should have put Gabriel Martinelli on a lot sooner. Sorry, you don't do that.
A lot of league performances
Richard.
at the end of our season wasn't great, were they? Either a lot of draws,
No.
a lot of lack of goals. We didn't concede as many as maybe before, but we wasn't scoring goals, and that's just gone on into this season only worse. And maybe we shouldn't have been surprised. Actually, I think we were all optimistic because of those FA Cup games that we won. When maybe we were fortunate, like you said, in the final in particular. I thought we played well against Man City, but other than that, we've not played well under Arteta since he's been in charge. Really, we haven't consistently played well. We've had the odd good
Not
game.
consistently, we've had the odd game. Wolves away was good. I thought.
Wolves away was a good performance. Yeah, Southampton away was a good performance in the league last season when we won 2-0. But other than that, it's been very hit and miss, and we've had some really poor performances. A lot of games that we just not scoring enough goals, not taking our chances, not creating enough chances. And that's been the story of the year. I mean, it's going to be a year, isn't it, on Boxing Day, Arteta's first game away at Bournemouth.
Yeah.
It's going to be a whole year he's been in charge, yeah. And to me, it's if we hadn't won the FA Cup, it would be one of the worst years of watching Arsenal that I could remember because the football's been so boring. And the FA Cup we got away with it because that was great to win that. And I know it wasn't the same with no fans. But it was great to win it. And that's maybe made up for the rest of the stuff that overall, I mean, he must have had, 50 games in charge, or whatever it is, over the year. And there's probably only 3 or 4 that actually stick out as good performances. Chelsea away, we battled well to get a draw with 10 men, but we didn't play well. If it had been 11 against 11, we'd have lost that game.
We try our best. What can we say?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We've got to be confident. At least me and Robin should draw on Boxing Day, not lose 3-0. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, I'm being honest.
You're probably going to be right. You'll probably be more right than me.
I want to draw. I'm just saying I want to draw because I can't see a win. As much as I love a win, I can't lie to myself anymore. I was doing that for years.
I can't see us winning either. I'll be amazed if we win that game. It will just sum up 2020 for me. Another amazing ridiculous thing
It'd just be typical Arsenal as well.
It would be. And do you know what would annoy me the most? Is there's still going to be some Arsenal fans on Twitter that will not look at the fact that we're 15th, right, and struggling. Oh, we beat Chelsea.
We'll forgive him.
Chelsea. Yeah. And then we'll go and lose to Brighton. Then what?
Yeah.
And West Brom.
Back to square one.
Even the West Brom game, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm a little bit worried because, again, these lower league teams, these lower tier teams, they always do well against us. Remember back in the day when I was younger, we can never really do well against Bolton away.
Sam Allardyce has got a record against us, isn't he? Sam Allardyce has as well. He knows how to beat Arsenal.
There you go. There you go, isn't it? I mean,
we always lose. We always lose to Brighton. They're our bogey team. I think we've lost the last 3 in a row against Brighton, so we'll probably lose to them as well. Because that's it. Chelsea will beat us. That's three defeats over Christmas. That's it. We've been a bottom 3.
No, come on, let's be a little bit more positive than that.
It's reverse psychology, Melvin. So when we win all 3 games, we'll be over the moon, won't we? Where did that come from? We'll be happy, won't we? Because if we all think now we're going to win a couple of these games and we don't, we're going to be really disappointed. I won't be disappointed because I'm expecting us to lose every game at the minute. So anything other than that's going to be a plus and a bonus, and I'll be happy.
This is just.
Do you think if at the end of the year we win a couple of games now, right? Not necessarily next to each other. We win a game out of the next 3, and then we might win one the next 2, and whatever. And we finish in fourth at say 10th to 12th place. Do you think he deserves another season?
No.
No. Hell no.
Right.
You're just asking for trouble.
Exactly. I think the question I'm asking you now. Do you think the board will give him another year? It's a different question.
Of course they will.
I think they will as well. I think they will.
Look how long it's left. Look how long they've left it in them. Look now, right? We've been struggling for months. It's probably about 2 months, right? We've been struggling. We've been on our knees. On our knees. Yep. I have never seen us on our knees like ever in my life.
we haven't won a domestic game outside of European competition since the 1st of November, since Man United away. Haven't won. 2 draws. All the others are defeats.
And we should have lost against Leeds. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. We got a night that day. How they
We could have lost to Southampton as well with that first half.
Even Southampton to an extent, because they hit was it Redmond in the second half hit the post.
We could have lost all the game. We could have lost every single game that we've played since November the 1st. And in fact, before that, we lost to 2 games before Man United, didn't we? Was it Leicester at home and Man City away?
Yeah.
So we lost before that as well.
Yeah. And Liverpool as well, but that's going a bit further before as well. But yeah. Crazy. But I don't know.
I mean, oh dear. I mean, I think we're better. We've got to wrap things up now. Got a few hours before Christmas. Everyone needs an early night.
I've got to go out and
Yeah.
chips tonight. I've got a few chips tonight, boys. So hurry up.
Yeah. Fuck tier 4.
I don't want to give the game away. All right.
Yeah, no worries. Oh dear, but yeah, guys, thanks to everyone that's been in the chat. Thanks for coming and joining us and putting some good comments in and good questions to us and all that. Obviously, thanks to the panel, obviously joining me. And Christmas is an hard one because Christmas Eve everyone's busy as well, even in tier 4, wherever you are, whatever tier you are.
Because you can't go anywhere. You just got to stay at home. That's it.
Yeah, but obviously,
I got special dispensation, as you know, gentlemen.
You're a special case, brother. That's why you're a very special case.
Yeah, I'm a special case.
You're a very special little boy. But with that, yeah, thanks. Oh, obviously, you've got to see us. Well, we've got to take. Obviously, we've got no content tomorrow Christmas Day. No, and we're all going to be, even though we're all at home, we're still going to be doing our own thing with our family and all that, respectively. And we're back on Boxing Day, 5 o'clock live, half hour before kickoff, 5:30 kickoff. I think Melvin's joining me for that. Gary definitely said he'll be around. See if anyone else is around and go with that. Basically, as soon as I know the full lineup, I'll get you guys know it. Obviously, I'm going to leave you with this, which, by the way, this image I put on the screen was officially given the old Tony Adams by the man himself on Instagram that he was thinking, and he even liked it as well. So I'm going to leave it up here.
Yeah.
And as always, have a good Christmas. See you on Boxing Day. Stay safe. And as always, up the Arsenal. Come on, you guys.